I've been a good couch goblin.
You're being distracting. Silence, couch goblin! Fuck! His name isn't Laurent, it's Marquet. Marquet. His name is Marquet.
It's not as bad as Zip Houston.
Marquet.
Captain Marquet.
Marquet. Yeah.
Marquet.
Anyway.
Say Marquet so she has your voice saying it.
No, I refuse.
Please.
Marquet.
Welcome to Media Morsels, the podcast about creativity and the media that feeds it. I'm Jessica, character and aesthetic enthusiast.
I'm Jamie, plot guy and the summarizer.
And I'm Claire, first-time viewer and easy critic.
And this week...
Mitch is taking a mental health break.
So, he is present in the room.
In spirit.
Physically present in the room, but mentally not here. So...
I'm making doodles.
So, everybody needs to do some self-care sometimes. But... this week, we watched Ladyhawke, made in 1985, which is, again, how many years?
16 years BS.
So, Ladyhawke, 16 BS.
BS.
Before Shrek.
Oh my gosh.
We're keeping that running gag. We've done it for 3 episodes now. It's a commitment.
Yeah. Maybe we should put, like, the additional notation in all the show notes.
Yeah.
This is a movie, and again...
and we watched it.
And it's very evident it's an 80s movie.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Possibly, kind of painfully evident, really. It is near and dear to my heart, but I am willing to admit that it's...
perhaps it's not the highest cinema you've ever seen.
Yes.
It is a guilty pleasure.
Yes. It's one of those things where it's... we'll get into that.
Yeah.
We'll get into it. All right, so let's go ahead and get into the appetizer round.
Do let's.
I will begin since I was the one who insisted that we must watch this. This is, again, one of those movies that's kind of like almost forever been in our collection. Mm-hmm. My parents picked this one up sometime when I was maybe 8 to 12 years old, somewhere in that window. I think I remember them, like, picking this up and my mom being like, oh, Ladyhawke. It's weird, but it's cool. Which is
not
accurate.
Wrong. Yeah.
And...
very apt description, I think.
Yes. And when she put this movie in and introduced it to me and my sister, she pretty much out the gate said, look, the soundtrack is whack.
Is a choice.
Yeah. But she's like, but if not for that, it would be a great movie. And I would challenge that. But I also...
it's a pretty good movie if they did a
few other choices.
A couple different choices.
The bones are good. It's got good bones.
Oh, we're doing real estate language
Yes,
now.
it just needs some...
it's a bit of a fixer-upper.
Yeah.
Needs some spice, extra seasoning.
Yeah, as if we mix metaphors here.
As we always do.
But that was my introduction, was when I was quite young, so yeah.
Well, I think predictably for this one, my introduction was you. And to be honest, I'm not sure exactly when you introduced this one to me. I think it was somewhere in the middle of that first 2 years of relationship.
Where I was stress testing you.
You were stress testing me to see if I would last. And this one didn't challenge that, actually. There were a couple that did, but...
like which ones?
I will probably remember as we hit them.
Okay.
Ones where you're like, who the...
yeah.
am I dating?
Yeah. Honestly, Dark City, the first watch, it was kind of like, whoa.
Yeah, we'll get to that next month.
Yes. But,
as part of Amnesia Boy April.
Uh-huh.
Oh my
it's my
God.
Guess who picked that theme?
It's my birthday month.
Yeah, you get a treat. Anyway. But yeah, and, I had thoughts about the soundtrack mostly. The story's actually pretty good, I would say. There's just the handful of aesthetic choices that I would have tuned a bit.
Again, a fixer-upper.
Yes.
Yeah.
A new coat of paint, strip some wallpaper,
I will say for this movie that instead of remaking the same blockbusters over and over and over again, why not revive some of this old stuff?
Well, yeah,
that
remake,
could be improved.
Don't remake something that was already great to begin with.
Yeah.
Remake something that could have been good, but was kind of eh.
Because this was my first time seeing the movie was this past week, predictably introduced by you guys. And
the Agents of Chaos.
I really enjoyed it. I wouldn't say it was a good movie, again, but it was interesting and it was fun to watch. And I think that, like you said, Jessica, it has a lot that they could build on.
Yeah.
Like, the storyline's engaging enough to where if, with all the special effects they have now and everything else, it could be really good.
Yeah, with a better soundtrack, number one, but two, like, better pacing. I honestly, again, we kind of talked about this before we started recording, but I think this would be a good, like, mini-series.
Yeah. The pacing of it doesn't fit a cinema experience.
Yeah.
Because it's very episodic.
Yeah.
And you could see where it could be broken up into maybe 4 to 6 episodes, like an HBO miniseries or something.
Yeah, and they could lavish more attention on some of the things they just kind of, like, glossed over, which we'll get to. But
And, maybe Netflix should have done that instead of doing the Willow sequel, because Willow was already...
Oh, that was Disney Plus.
Disney Plus, pardon me. Because Willow was already perfect. How can you get better?
Yeah. I mean, I do know that a lot of people really liked the Willow show, and that's, I respect that. I think that there were things to like about the Willow show. I just think, okay, I'm going to speak from some ignorance here because I haven't watched the entire show, but I feel like you could have done what they wanted to do. You could have made this the same show without basing it in Willow.
Yeah,
and it actually might...
It didn't have to be attached to a pre-existing franchise.
Yeah, and they could have... And I don't know, I think that would have actually... I don't know. I have mixed feelings about the Willow show. I respect some of the things it tried to do, but I also think that it might have been flawed from the start.
Well, or that it maybe negated some of the messages of the original movie.
Mm-hmm. Which we all feel very strongly about in this household.
Oh, yeah.
We all... really liked the messaging of the original Willow. So I think with that, let's go ahead and get into the summarizing.
I can do the summary.
Oh, you want to do the summary? Summarizer has...
Summarizer!
Yes.
I'll give an attempt. If it's not good, you can edit it out and have Jamie do it. But, okay. So, the story involves a young man and a man and a woman in love. Mm-hmm. And the man and the woman in love are cursed to always be together, but never be together.
Always together.
Forever apart.
Forever apart, yeah.
So the man is cursed to always be a wolf at night, and the woman is cursed to always be a hawk during the day, hence the name Ladyhawke.
Yeah.
And so the movie is about them trying to undo this curse so that they can be together. It's very romantic, very classic fairy tale.
Yes.
And a lot of just medieval fun for the whole family.
Yeah. Well, and this couple has enlisted the help of this escaped...
Yes, the young man
thief. Yeah.
is who our story opens on. He's imprisoned and about to be hanged, and he makes his escape.
Through the sewers.
Mm-hmm. And then this is where the pacing gets weird, because almost immediately after he escapes, he just saunters into some random outdoor medieval bar and is like, I just escaped the prisons.
Of Aquila.
Yeah.
Which we'll get to when we do the full summary.
Yeah.
But yeah, the whole story is the quest of this couple and a couple of, like, helpers to figure out how to break the curse.
Yes.
So, yeah. All right, Summarizer, you didn't even have to do anything.
I have been replaced.
Yeah, you have competition. All right, so let's go ahead and dive into the main course. This movie opens on the first of our sort of like core trio, who is a young thief named Philippe Gaston, and he is about to be hanged. And because they're in this city called Aquila, And he's in the prisons of Aquila, and which is a
no
notoriously...
one ever escapes.
Yeah, no one ever escapes the prisons of Aquila. And also, this just seems like a hellish city anyway. It's basically ruled over by a bishop who...
Even the Pope hates?
Yeah.
They state later on?
He's evil.
Yes.
That's pretty much it. He's straight,
straight up evil.
Yeah, this despicable sort of bishop who has the city in his, iron fist.
Yes. So, he's about to be hanged, and in an act of desperation, he must be a contortionist or something.
Well, he is, and that little ability comes up a couple of times during the plot.
Yes, and he contorts himself down a drain into the sewers.
Which, when the movie opened, I was honestly
very confused.
I was like, are they Count of Monte Cristoing this shit? Because he, comes out of a wall. I was like, does he have a spoon?
I know, he's just... he's like the wimpiest Count of Monte Cristo.
Okay, now I come to my real beef.
Yeah.
This character, which consistently throughout the movie seems like it was written to be maybe a 14, 15-year-old boy...
Yeah. Maybe younger. Yeah.
Is played by Matthew Broderick, who was 23 at time of filming.
Yeah.
And very evidently so.
And you can kind of feel this tension in the script, or at least I can, where it feels like he should have been younger.
Yeah, it treats him as younger than he is, so you can tell that the character was written with that intention.
So that creates not the only tension.
What was supposed to be kind of like a found family dynamic felt a little bit strange.
Like a throuple, honestly.
A little bit.
Yeah.
A little.
Well, and they also... So Philippe Gaston, he is called the Mouse. So you also have this interesting
animal motif.
I didn't pick up on that.
Animal motif, yeah, because he's the mouse, Navarre is the wolf, and Isabeau is the hawk. But this 23-year-old man contorts himself down the drain, and he's talking to himself, and he's always kind of talking to God in this running narration. But he's a very sort of little rapscallion.
Yeah, he's the rapscallion archetype.
Yeah,
the lovable ruffian.
Yeah, scamp.
Yeah, and he successfully manages to escape. And runs for, I don't know how long. He runs across the landscape, talking to himself the whole time. He steals some extra clothing and blah, blah, blah. And then he shows up at this open-air tavern. And he, in the course of his escaping, he had stolen some money. So...
He blows it on booze.
Yeah, he goes to blow it on booze and food. And Immediately. And he immediately says, I am here to buy a drink... And...
Yeah, a toast to me, because I escaped from an inescapable prison.
Yeah, and then these, cloaked figures that are amongst the, other diners are oh,
Did you know?
Well, I actually like this part.
Yeah, this is actually funny.
He was being stupid, but he was like, I have been the only person to see the inside of the Aquila prisons.
Uh-huh.
And then the other person said, I've been inside the prisons at Aquila. And he's like, impossible, because, I know the only way to escape. And then the guy reveals himself to be the captain of the guard. And he's like, I didn't say I was a prisoner.
Yeah. Well, I actually kind of like this part because the mouse is a blacksmith, perhaps?
Mm-hmm. A mason.
A mason? But surely you have not escaped because I'm the only one who did that. And then it's he's like, haha, I'm a guard. And thus begins this sort of Scooby-Doo
chase sequence.
Chasing around this little dining area.
It is awkwardly choreographed,
yeah,
I will say.
Yeah. Also, I can't fucking believe we didn't say this right off the bat. The first thing you notice about this movie when it begins.
Yeah.
Opening credits.
Oh, yeah.
80s.
Maybe we tried to subconsciously block that.
Yeah.
80s synth soundtrack.
Immediately.
It is
right off the bat.
It is I'm not going to say high fantasy because, there's some magic. Maybe low fantasy is more appropriate. But you would expect something orchestral. Maybe a little bit of Hans Zimmer or something. No, we got full keyboard and
not
drum,
not
keyboard
just
and drum
that,
pad.
Not just that. We're having the 80s music and then there's this sudden flash from the credits to the hawk and it's just like the eagle screech, and then it's back to the credits.
It's so funny. And the editing is like that throughout, like just these weird cuts.
Well, and I think that this might have been, I don't know what their budget was for this movie. It seems like it probably wasn't a lot. And one of the ways they probably saved was by, instead of hiring an orchestra, hiring like one person to create an electronic score. And they were also like, it's the 80s, right? It's the 80s. We can do, like, synth is cool and weird.
This is the new hotness.
Maybe we can make this work. And it doesn't work. Like, again, I think my mom was right. 70% of what would have fixed this film is just having a really good classical medieval type score, you know? An orchestral soundtrack. So anyway, but what made me think of that is that there is this stupid fucking synthwave like playing during the Scooby-Doo chase around.
Well, and to kind of further drive that home, there's really like only 3 songs.
Yeah.
And
that they reuse.
And it cycles through them constantly.
Yeah.
There's like action scene song, thoughtful scene song, romance theme song.
Yeah.
Action theme song.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the action theme is coincides with the synth. So.
Yes. So at some point, though, Philippe Gaston accidentally, in the course of trying to escape, I guess he cuts the captain of the guard, Marquet, across the cheek. And this guy, by the way, is just a piece of shit. Like, you know from the beginning that.
Oh, he's a massive turd burger. I mean,
yeah.
he's he's the bishop's second in command, and he's fully in league with him.
To be fair, his character's not really developed beyond being the villain.
Yeah, he's
being like the second-rate villain.
The villain's like left-hand man.
Yeah.
Character development probably would have helped this movie too.
And also, the bishop sent him, the captain of the guard, after this one thief, basically because he was like,
it's an optics issue for the prison.
Yeah, nobody can know that somebody escaped from the prisons of Aquila.
Okay, and say what you want about shallow characters in this movie. The bishop is also shallow, but man, does he deliver!
Oh my god!
Just like
he's a good villain.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of a good adjective, but yeah, he just seethes with evil every time he's on screen.
He's a good villain because he's fun to hate. You're just like, this guy's.
Yep, that's a villain.
And it's fun to watch him do bad.
Well, and he's one of those, like, he's just like an uncomplicated villain, but he also, again, he does it with such, like,
panache
that you just kind of enjoy it. It's kind of like, in a different way, Agatha in WandaVision. Yes. Like, she's really personable, which is kind of like the scary thing about her, but she's also completely unrepentant. That's like this guy.
Yeah, except he's not personable. He's just unrepentant.
Yeah, he's unrepentant. There's something to be said about, in fiction, an unrepentant villain. They're just kind of fun.
Yeah.
Unless they're not, sometimes you just want to smack them.
Yeah.
But in this instance, it's like, this is a good villain.
Yeah.
Because it's fun to see him get vanquished.
Also,
yes.
It's very satisfying.
To get his. But yeah, so just when things are looking real bad for the mouse, this, like, crossbow bolt flies in and, like, kills the guy who was about to kill the mouse, and enter Captain Navarre.
Played by Rutger
Hauer. He rides in on his fucking gorgeous black Frisian horse, is it an Andalusian?
Nobody else is gonna know.
Oh my god, I'm a terrible horse girl. Oh my god, is it a Frisian or is it an Andalusian?
It's a big black horse. It's well trained.
It's a black stallion.
Yeah.
I gotta know, man.
This has been Horse Facts with Jessica.
I want to look up who the horse actor was.
I think it was a Frisian. I think so. I think. Another thing that, like, my mother's family is, like, they're really, like, they're horse people. Mm. So one of the things that's, like, the great redeeming quality of this movie for them is the horses. And that's true. They got
there's some decent horse combat in here.
Horse combat, horse stunts, but also the horses had, like, at least Goliath, which is Navarre's horse, had that, like, the special sort of gait.
Fancy boy horse.
Yeah, the fancy boy prance that war horses can have.
Okay. At a time when there were fewer than 100 Frisians in the USA, the horse that played Goliath was a 19-year-old Frisian stallion named Othello.
Oh, 19.
So you were right, Jamie.
Oh my god.
Well, he was kind of an older boy, huh?
That is an older boy for a horse. Like, that is...
Horses can live, like, 30
30
years,
is, like,
right?
the upper end, but it's usually more in the mid-20s.
That horse is, like, upper middle-aged, at least.
Yeah, like, holy crap. That horse...
His midlife crisis
was Ladyhawke.
Yeah.
It says he had the prominent role of the stallion Goliath. So apparently, like, the horse took part of the center stage of this movie.
Yeah, I bet that's where a big part of the budget went.
To the horse, yeah. I mean, I could believe it.
Yeah, the care and maintaining of the horse and the wolf, like, basically all the animal handling.
Yeah, the animal stunts.
Yeah, the animal stunts probably took a lot of money. So, anyway, he rides up to the mouse's rescue.
Starts wrecking shit.
He, like, in the course of this, like, fight that he's having with them, it's pretty, like, it's implied that he knows these guards, and at least one of them is, like, friendly with him. And Captain Marquet, seeing that the friend of Navarre is sort of, like, hesitant to attack him,
pushes him onto his sword.
Pushes him onto Navarre's sword, and yeah. So Navarre wrecks some shit. He has a really cool sword as well, by the way.
And a really cool crossbow that has, like, double tines on either side for, like, I guess extra tension and force to put behind the bolt.
Yeah, something like that. So he makes his escape from this tiny little town, and along the way he runs into the mouse, who has been unsuccessful at stealing a horse, which, by the way, in medieval times
was a capital offense.
You would have been killed for anyway. But
I mean, he was already on.
He was already dead,
it's
but
fine.
like, he has nothing left to lose. But he doesn't really know how to ride a horse or anything, so he just tries to run on foot, and
so
that's
Navarre
when
just steals this boy.
Yeah, he like rides up next to him, grabs him, and like throws him across his saddle, essentially, which is another reason why it feels like this should have been a younger person.
This should have been a child.
Yeah. But once they have gotten a suitable distance away, as it's starting to approach dusk, they end up staying in what I think is maybe like a medieval like charcoal
burner camp.
Yeah. And I'm not sure about that, but it does look like this scene that there is a specific profession that they have in mind for the two people who are letting Navarre and Philippe stay in their like barn area.
Yeah.
And Navarre has a hawk. Like the hawk's always with him, just, you know, whoops. Yeah, she's there. And Philippe does something really stupid again, where at first these two peasants they're kind of shifty.
They do not want to house them for the night.
Yeah, but then Philippe flashes this coin purse that he has, and they're like, oh, because it's full of coins. And they're like, yeah, you can stay in the barn. And basically, Navarre, towards dusk, he sends Philippe out to gather firewood. And he has not explained to Philippe yet why he saved him. So Philippe is just like, what the fuck? I know he wants something from me, but I'm not going to do it. I don't owe this guy anything but my life, but I don't owe him anything. Because Philippe pretty much from the get-go, it's like he has no honor, and he knows that, and he's very clear about this. So he starts to just kind of like take off, but he hears a sound in the woods, and it scares him. He runs back to the like barn they're staying in. So he's looking behind him or around, because he's looking for whoever was following him in the woods, and there's the peasant guy, and he's like sneaking up behind Philippe with an axe, and he's about to like murder him for their money, because also it's not just Philippe, like this man clearly came in with a Frisian fucking stallion, which
and a bejeweled sword.
A bejeweled sword and like really great tack.
They're
like,
fucking loaded.
They're loaded. So these guys are definitely going to kill them and take everything. Whether they could have fenced it is another question. But just as Philippe is about to get murderlated, a wolf, a black wolf, jumps out and kills the peasant, and Philippe's rightfully freaked out. He like runs and grabs the crossbow. He's like, sir, where are you? But Navarre is nowhere to be found.
So he runs and hides in the barn,
and he grabs his crossbow, and he's trying to load it, which he can't because he's not strong enough, but he's trying to load it so he can kill the wolf, because even though that other guy was about to murder him, there's still like this wolf like literally like savaging him. But just before he is able to pull back the string.
Yeah.
load the crossbow.
We have Michelle Pfeiffer enter the scene.
Yes, a soft feminine hand touches.
A mysterious woman appears in the barn, and he's like, "Where'd you come from?"
And she's like,
"This is a dream. Don't worry about it.
Don't worry." And he's like, "Miss, don't go out there." And he's like, "There's a wolf. There's a wolf." And she's like, "Yes, I know." And she walks out there, and he's freaked out, and he's even more freaked out when he sees her like walk up to this wolf, and this wolf just like looks up at her, and they walk off together, and he's like, "Oh my god,
she's a witch."
He's like, something weird and probably unholy is happening here. So he goes to bed, and in the morning, Navarre is there, and
so I didn't really know what happened to the peasant woman. Did she just like run off?
I guess she thought better of.
She either ran away or also got ate by a wolf.
Yeah, maybe he was taking care of her before he took care
of the peasant man.
Yeah. So in the morning, they like move on. And I don't remember the exact sequence of events, but essentially at some point, Navarre reveals to Philippe, I am on a mission. I have a destiny to fulfill, and my destiny is to kill a man. And then Philippe's like, "Oh, so who's this walking corpse?" And Navarre says, "The Bishop of Aquila." And Philippe immediately is just like, "Well, good luck with that.
Bye."
And Navarre basically doesn't let him leave. It kind of intimidates him into staying, more or less.
Because he explains Philippe is the only one who has escaped from the dungeons of Aquila. And
so he knows how to get
back in.
Yeah, he knows how to get back into Aquila, and he needs that. And he's like, "God has sent you to me so that I can take my vengeance on the Bishop of Aquila." And he doesn't yet state why.
Because everyone in this movie is very Catholic, because it's medieval France.
Yes. And Philippe is like, "Well, I talk to God all the time, and he didn't mention anything about you." But anyway, he still gets roped into this. And in the meantime, he's still, like, at night, he sees this woman. Navarre is gone, but the woman is there. And they kind of strike up just sort of a, what would you say the relationship is?
It's friendship. He's like flirting a little bit, and she's like, "I'm gonna entertain this because it's funny."
Yeah, she's not convinced. Like, he's lying all the time, and she is not convinced by it, but she plays along because it's harmless.
Yes, because he's a child.
Yeah,
or
he's supposed to be a child, and so she seems to just kind of find this like amusing. But at some point, he like runs off. And as Navarre is trying to find him again the next day, Philippe is once again apprehended by these...
the bishop's
the
guard.
Cops.
The cops. The popo.
And...
Le popo.
And once again, there's a showdown between Navarre and all these knights, and it's clear that Navarre is like a very competent fighter and blah, 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 blah. But in the course of all of this, a stray crossbow bolt strikes the hawk.
Well, because Philippe grabs the guard that's about to fire, I think he's about to fire at Navarre, so he's trying to help out.
Navarre does get hit, too, by a
Well, he gets
arrow.
So there's two people with crossbows on him. The first one, like, Philippe pushes his hands up, and that's when that, Ladyhawke is shot. And the second one shoots Navarre kind of right in a very similar area, like in sort of the shoulder. And so she drops from the sky like a stone. And then the mouse goes to hide. Navarre finishes everybody else off. There's like one guy who lives to tell the tale and like runs back.
The bishop, I guess.
And when the bishop hears that Navarre has returned, he is freaking freaked out.
Oh, yeah. He gets his robes in a twist.
Yeah, and he basically is like, I am going to declare that the agent of the devil is among us, and he is Etienne Navarre.
Mm-hmm.
So he's, like, spread the word, basically so that Navarre can't get any quarter anywhere.
Kill on sight, basically.
Yeah.
But he's very specific that he doesn't want the guards to harm the hawk.
Yes.
He's like, whoever harms the hawk will be dead, the moment they come back here. So everybody's like, damn, okay. something weird about this hawk, but okay. Like, nobody questions him because he's fucking crazy.
And I think the guard who came back was probably like, I'm not going to mention that the hawk
I didn't
got shot.
I think he got killed. Navarre killed that guy. So Navarre did it for him. But Navarre, when he finds Ladyhawke on the ground, he's like, no, she's going to be fine. He's freaking out, though, because this could be a potentially mortal wound.
And at this point, Philippe still thinks that it's just a bird.
Yeah.
Because he has not caught wise to...
Again, if he was a child, this might make a little more sense. But at the same time, I would also argue in Philippe's defense that why would you even think...
Why would you assume that?
I think he did have some weird suspicions that he, like, wasn't quite ready to entertain yet.
Yeah.
Like,
and this
he was like, but what if... Nah.
Well, and this isn't a high fantasy setting where there's magic around every corner. As far as we see in this storyline, there's exactly one spell in this whole setting.
Yeah, magic is really rare. But anyway, they can't find help from anybody because the bishop has put the word out. But Navarre basically tells the mouse, because evening is approaching, he's like, you need to take the hawk to this priest who lives...
in some ruins.
In some castle ruins up the road.
Conveniently close by.
Yes. He will know what to do. And his name is Imperius. And
what a name.
I know, right? And Philippe is, like, kind of reluctant, but Navarre is like, fucking go! Do it! So he does. He shows up, and Imperius greets him above the gate. He doesn't quite let the mouse in until he kind of vets him. But the mouse is like, I shot this bird, it's injured. And basically Imperius is like, bring her in, we will dine together.
Yeah, we'll have a fine dinner.
And then he's like, no, you can't eat this bird, it belongs to Etienne Navarre. And then he's like, oh my god, bring her in now. And then he welcomes them in, he takes the hawk, he sort of puts her in the hawk in this room carefully, like lays her down, but he's like, I know exactly what to do. I have to go gather some herbs. In the meantime, Philippe, stay outside. Don't come in here. So he locks the door behind him, but it's Philippe, so like...
He picks the lock and is immediately back in.
Yeah, as soon as the priest is out of frame, Philippe just turns around and is like, do-do-do.
Yeah. And when he enters, there's no longer a hawk there, but it is...
Michelle Pfeiffer.
A beautiful woman.
Yeah.
And she's been shot in the boob.
Yeah. She's shot in the same place. So now he kind of understands what's going on. And they have this conversation. He's like, are you flesh or are you spirit? And she says, I am sorrow. And I was like, man, what a line.
Yeah.
That's raw. And he's freaked out. And Imperius comes back in just then and...
Shoos him out again. Yeah,
shoos him out again, but he helps, he prepares everything, and he pulls the arrow out of Michelle Pfeiffer, whose character's name is Isabeau, out of Isabeau's chest.
And credit where it's due, I would say this is one of the better executed sequences in the movie. Because, like, it's a little bit cheesy, because, there's the dramatic thunderstorm of emotional turmoil as he's, like, getting ready to pull the arrow out. But in that same moment, it cuts to Navarre out on the plains.
Waiting to turn into
a wolf.
Yeah.
And also back to the bishop in his chambers in Aquila. And all three of them are grasping at the same wound spot to demonstrate that they are all bound together by the curse.
Yes.
And
this
honestly,
was a really cool sequence.
Yeah, like, this is an A+ sequence in a B- movie.
Yeah. And just when the arrow comes out, the bishop is awoken because he earlier in the movie sent for César, and we don't know who that is. Mm-hmm. But César has arrived, and so
oh my god, it's Alfred Molina.
It's Alfred Molina.
Otherwise known as Doc Ock. I kept waiting for him to say, hello, Peter.
Yeah.
Every time he showed up.
Yeah. And César is a wolf hunter.
Yes, he is.
And so the bishop has decided to go ahead and, if his guards can't kill Navarre, get this guy.
If his guards can't kill him as a man, he'll get this hunter to kill him as a wolf.
And he's like, this wolf is with a woman who travels only by night. The moon is her sun. with eyes like a dove, and, you know, describes her as this great beauty. It's like clear to everybody that he's like really obsessed with her.
Yeah.
And he's like, the woman must not be harmed, but the wolf is always with her, the wolf who loves her.
He's very much Frollo from Hunchback of Notre Dame.
Oh, completely.
Yes.
Yeah. And
they honestly, the Hunchback probably cribbed some notes from this movie.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see it for sure. And Cesar is like, oh, okay, sure, dude, I'll get you your black wolf.
This is where it would have worked really well as an episodic thing again, because they set Cesar up to be this big villain of the movie, and he gets like, he gets killed in like 5 minutes.
He dies maybe 10 minutes after he's introduced.
For one episode, he could have been the antagonist.
Also, and you have Alfred Molina, who definitely
he was very, very young in his career at the time, so they kind of treated him as a bit actor.
Yeah.
But
we know.
And honestly, his performance, short as it is compelling. He's pretty intimidating.
But the way they set it up is like this so dramatic. Like, it's a callback. He's like, bring me Cesar. And then it's like later in the movie that they bring in this big wolf hunter, and then it's just like
dead
immediately. Okay.
So
I was so sad about that. He was just doing his job, and then he just gets ganked.
Well, he was giving creepy vibes, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe that's unfair because it's like, what's the creepy vibes that like he has gross teeth? And he's a working class man.
The creepy vibes is that he laid out a bunch of wolf traps indiscriminately to catch the wolf or the people along with it.
It was the medieval ages. Who was really out in the... Okay, a lot of people.
Yeah, a lot of people.
The only thing he caught was his own face.
Yeah, we'll get to that. But while Isabeau is recuperating in the old tumble-down castle, Imperius sits out with Mouse, and they're like right in front of this like campfire. And he tells him the story of Isabeau and Navarre.
Yeah, we get our lore dump that lays it all out.
So Isabeau was the daughter of a
minor noble.
A minor noble who died in the Crusades. And so she went to Aquila to stay with a cousin. And pretty much everybody fell in love with her in some way when she entered the court, because she's beautiful and kind and, you know, all good things. And very, very intelligent, too.
Including the bishop.
But she pretty quickly understood how wicked he was, that he was not a pious man. Mm-hmm. And so she rejected him. She sent every gift he gave her back unopened. She wanted nothing to do with him. And in the meantime, in secret...
The captain of the guard.
And the captain of the guard, Etienne Navarre, began a romance.
An epic romance.
Yes, and they were deeply, deeply in love. And things were fine for a while until their confessor, in an intemperate moment when he was drunk, revealed to the bishop their illicit love, not understanding how obsessed the bishop was with Isabeau. And the bishop was so... angered by this, so completely irate and like driven insane by his jealousy that he made a pact with the devil to draw up from the pits of hell a wicked curse
would make sure that they would be separate forever.
That they would be separate forever, but also always together.
Yeah.
And that agony of that moment between dusk and dawn when they can see each other just as they're becoming human again, but they can never touch.
Yeah, there's like a fraction of a second where they overlap at dawn and dusk.
Yes. So it's this ultimate agony. And yeah, so he reveals this to the mouse, and the mouse, Philippe, accurately guesses that the confessor was Imperius. Imperius was the man who gave him up.
Which is why he's a squatter alcoholic in the middle of these ruins now.
Yes, a hermit.
He's punishing himself.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's very Catholic of him.
Mm-hmm. But Imperius believes that he understands how to lift the curse.
Yeah, the next morning he's like, it has finally come to me. I know how to break the curse. Yeah.
And because Navarre, his whole mission is to kill the bishop, and Imperius is like, no, the curse will last forever if he does that. And he's like, no, God has shown me there in 3 days' time, there will come a night without day and a day without night.
And this is something that I beef with a little with this movie, because that's vague.
And the word for eclipse definitely existed.
Already. Hey, there's going to be an eclipse. You can look it up in the star charts.
Yeah.
We can predict this shit.
Yeah.
Because people have been observing the stars for centuries, millennia even.
Yes.
So it's hey dude, this is actually fairly predictable.
Yeah, with surprising accuracy and, again, with all the nomenclature to go with it. But no, he doesn't say that. He says, it sounds really cool, a night without day and a day without night.
But it's that obfuscation that makes it so that Etienne Navarre is no, I'm just gonna go kill the guy.
You're drunk, old man. You're insane.
A day can't exist without night.
Yeah.
Well, and yes, he's drunk, but he's still right.
Yeah. But before all this happens, before Navarre shows up again, by the way, so when Imperius has that conversation with
Philippe
him,
fucks up again.
Yeah, right before dawn. I guess the bishop's guards have tracked them to this castle. And Philippe has to rouse Isabeau and basically run off with her through the castle to try to hide her as Imperius tries to stall or stop these guards from coming in. And it's really funny because apparently he's just spent his time
Home Aloneing the entire abandoned castle.
Yes. Creating these little traps or just leaving things in artful states of disrepair so that should someone try to invade, they would meet with disaster.
If they go across the right side of the bridge as opposed to the left, they'll just fall through.
Yeah, and that's really cleverly established, from the jump as he is escorting Philippe into the castle. He's mind you stay on the left of this bridge.
Yeah.
And it doesn't explain why until here.
So he gets rid of a lot of the guards before he's knocked out, but there's still a few going after Philippe and Isabeau. And Philippe and Isabeau go up to this tower, and they're trapped up there because the guards are beneath them, but there's nowhere to flee. And then as Philippe is standing on the trap door up to this tower with his weight to keep the knights out.
But he weighs 90 pounds.
Yeah, so he's knocked off, and when he's knocked off, he knocks into Isabeau, and Isabeau goes over the edge, and Philippe just catches her. But she's slipping because, again, he's supposed to be a child, so he doesn't have that much strength. But just as she slips out of his hands is when dawn breaks, and she turns into a hawk and flies away. And Philippe then has to contend with a knight, but again, just in the nick of time, Navarre has returned to human form
and
with his crossbow.
And somehow has gotten fully dressed in a full set of armor.
And his crossbow loaded.
Yeah, but he's up on the hillside nearby and kills the guy who's about to kill Philippe.
Which, honestly, one of my tweaks would be have Rutger Hauer show up buck-ass naked. Because he is literally just transformed.
Yeah.
But he just had enough time to load
grab his crossbow. Yeah.
Because that's about how much time you'd have. You can load a crossbow in a couple of seconds.
Cowards. Not showing us naked Rutger Hauer, full frontal.
You can do a shot from the back.
Yeah. Yes.
An artful
Yes.
As a Rennie myself, it takes time to put armor on.
Oh my god, yes.
Time.
Yes. So then Imperius tells him, oh, I've solved it. And he's like, fuck you, old man.
Yeah, basically.
And he's like, Philippe, you don't have to follow me anymore after all of this. And Philippe is like, actually, I think I will.
Yeah.
And then tells Imperius to just follow behind them at a distance. So they're making their way towards Aquila. But eventually what happens... Oh, God.
Well, so they stay at this other roadside house. Mm-hmm. And this is where they have the really cute scene where it's raining outside and Philippe steals a dress for Isabeau. And they, dance in the barn and whatever. And this is where the wolf hunter shows up.
Yeah, so they have this cute little...
It's a really sweet moment. And actually, so, I forget how long it's been going on at this point, but there's a little subplot.
2 years. They've been...
No, not that bit. There's this little subplot going on where Philippe has started, quote-unquote, relaying messages between Navarre and Isabeau.
Yeah.
But he's basically just completely fabricating love poetry for each party because he's basically playing wingman for them.
Yeah, well, they've been miserable for so long, but this is helping them sort of, like, reconnect.
He's trying to cheer them.
And, like...
And what I find the most funny about this, and I think was a very clever decision, was that Navarre buys it hook, line, and sinker.
Anything that Philippe says, he's like, of course Isabeau said that.
He accepts it all uncritically. But Isabeau, you can tell, just immediately is like, you're full of shit, but this is cute, so please continue.
I appreciate the effort, you know?
Yes.
And also, she's been isolated for 2 years, because that's how long they've been cursed.
Well, yeah, like... Navarre at least has the benefit of traveling during the day and interacting with other people.
And as a man traveling alone.
Yes.
But she is a woman at night. Also, her hair is cut, which in medieval Europe would have been a sign of shame.
But I don't know if that was intentional,
I'm sure that's not intentional
by the movie.
No, I think it was a stylistic choice.
Or just because it was the 80s.
Yeah, it was Michelle Pfeiffer in the 80s, and that was, to be frank, a hot look. Like, she looked great in this movie.
But whatever, she's been isolated, and now, you know, Philippe is here being a cute little kid. He's supposed to be like a teen or something, and he's cheering her up. And then they decide to go into the tavern to get a drink. But that's when Cesar rolls into town with his mule covered in wolf skins, and Isabeau is freaked out immediately.
Because she assumes that one of those is Navarre.
Or could be.
Well, she loses her shit, kind of.
She loses her shit.
She melts down.
And she immediately, as, like, Philippe is trying to keep this guy away from her, like, he successfully sort of runs him off with Navarre's sword, which is, again, a very cool, like, long sword. And it has different parts of his family have put different jewels in it.
Well, it's very near and dear to Navarre's heart. And
yes.
He's like, this has been in my family for
5 generations or something.
And each generation puts its own jewel in once they accomplish their quest.
Yeah.
And he's like, my quest is to kill the bishop.
Yeah.
My quest is blasphemy.
Yeah.
Very, very dramatic.
So while Philippe is focused on this, Isabeau has gone back into the barn, and she gets on Goliath, and she rides after this wolf trapper. And armed with only her little knife, the knife she uses for everyday things, it's kind of like a paring knife, she follows him into these woods and is ready to fucking fight and kill him. And she's trying to avoid these wolf traps as she's, like, walking along.
But
and
he randomly set everywhere.
Yeah, he set a whole bunch everywhere. And while she's looking for him and he's just, like, kind of watching her, a wolf gets caught in the trap, and he goes over to get his prize. And he thinks this is a black wolf. He thinks it's the wolf that he was sent to get. But just kidding! Like, just as Isabeau is coming up behind him to stab him, which she isn't quite successful in doing, Navarre jumps out from the woods and pushes Cesar into one of these traps, and it closes on his, like, throat.
And he immediately dies.
And Isabeau is just, like, standing there watching him. And I was like, honestly, this is where I really fucking love Isabeau.
Oh, yeah.
Like, she's
cold when she needs to be.
Yeah, she is brave and willing to kill and die for Navarre.
This is where the movie racks up points for me. We could have had a completely helpless, like, damsel female character. And about half the time she is, because she's a bird. But even then she gets some licks in. She claws some people's eyes out with her talons.
Yeah.
But she gets a chance to actually hold her own.
Yeah.
And I appreciate
Especially
that.
as a human with human agency, she is not
Well, yeah, she was going to cut a bitch with an apple corer there for a minute.
I will kill you with this paring knife if I have to. Anyway, they're making their way towards Aquila, and Navarre is still not having any of this talk about breaking the curse.
Yeah, he's been fully black-pilled at this point. He's like, I'm just going to kill the bishop, because then I'll have my vengeance, and then I'll just go die.
Yeah, something like that. But Philippe and Imperius are more successful at convincing Isabeau.
Because she's the more reasonable.
Because she's the more reasonable one. That this can be done, or at least that there's a chance, and they need to give it a shot. So they try to trap Navarre. I'm not quite sure what the plan was.
So they dig a pit trap.
Yeah.
In the hopes of catching the wolf in it.
Yeah. And then making their way to Aquila the next, like, within, I guess, the night. The night,
because they're pretty close.
But they make a mistake. Isabeau is standing by the wolf pit, but as Navarre is in wolf form is coming close to her, he goes across this, like, frozen river or pond or something, lake, and he falls through the ice. And so now there's a scramble to try to save him. And in this scramble, Philippe gets, like, super, like, all scratched up and everything.
Well, Philippe saves Navarre's life.
He does.
Yeah.
He jumps into the
ice cold water.
Yeah, the frozen water hole, and the wolf is desperately, he's drowning.
Scrabbling up Philippe's back.
So he scratches up Philippe as they hook a rope around him and pull him out, and then it's funny, they pull Navarre out, and then I'm like, don't forget Philippe.
Yeah, Philippe is still in this cold water.
And then Imperius comes over. So I was like, okay, at least someone cares about Philippe.
Yeah, I feel like there's an interesting sort of, like,
surrogate father thing that they're trying to develop there.
Yeah. This, like, young boy and this old man, and, like, sort of this holy man and a thief, and this unlikely bond that they form.
Yeah, I'm glad he didn't say, like, young boy and old priest, because I was just like, that's the phrasing.
No, I wasn't going to go there.
That's not how... It doesn't feel like that. No.
No. It's the nice
it's
priest.
It's a very wholesome
nice
rendition of that.
Yeah. And the next day...
And he's not a young boy. He's, like, actually in his 20s.
Yeah, he was supposed to be young. I'm imagining a younger person.
You know who was active in the mid-'80s that I think they maybe should have cast for the mouse? Macaulay Culkin.
He was too young, though. He was too young at the time.
He was like 8.
But he needed to be older than that.
He needed to be a little world-wise.
Because, I mean, it is true that a 7-year-old could be hanged in medieval Europe.
Oh, they absolutely did that. They hanged pigs for murder.
Yeah, but again, like, 7-year-olds were considered adult enough to like, know better. So if they stole too many things, they could be hanged, which is, like, really messed up. So technically, like, an 8-year-old would be enough to be in prison for, like, to be hanged. But I think they probably wouldn't have gone that dark. I'm assuming that he would have been, like, a young teen.
12 or so.
Yeah. But the next morning, Navarre is looking for his sword because they had to use that to, like, anchor the rope that they used to, like, pull.
Drag him out of the ice.
And he's like, where is it?
Because Philippe has hidden it away in basically over the axle shaft of the wagon.
Yeah, to try to, like, keep it away from Navarre so that, like, maybe if nothing else, that might prevent him from trying to seek his revenge.
Yeah, because
if you can't kill the Pope before, they have their chance, then...
The bishop.
Yeah. Sorry.
Not the Pope. Yeah. Killing the bishop or the Pope and killing the bishop are, like, two separate levels of insane.
Okay.
No, he wants to kill the bishop with that sword specifically.
Yeah.
That's family sword.
But Philippe just wants him to wait just a little longer just so they have their chance to lift the curse.
He's like, stop being a pig-headed idiot. But anyway, Navarre pushes him because he's angry, or he like, grabs him and shakes him.
Well, he gets pissed because Philippe says the sword fell through the ice last night.
Yeah, and he was like, he basically he's like, you're gonna get her killed, you're gonna get yourself killed, why don't you just do it yourself if you, like, blah, blah, blah. He basically is, like, goes off on Navarre, and Navarre, like, grabs him, and he falls down, and he flinches, and it, like, his shirt kind of falls open to reveal all these scratches, and Navarre is like, where did you get those? And Imperius is like, he got them from saving your life last night. And Navarre is just like, oh, fuck. Dude, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
He chills out a bit.
And he's like, and he's like, okay, fine. We'll try it your way. I'll show you how to trap a wolf,
This is where it's also implied, I think, that they don't really have complete memory of what happens in their animal form.
They have an affinity for each other.
Yeah, they seem to be able to recognize people they like and don't like.
Yeah.
And that's about it.
Yeah. But, yeah, they don't form, like,
it's not like
cohesive memories.
It's not like they're humans in an animal form. They are completely animals.
Although, what would have been interesting to explore is does the animal form have its own set of consistent memories? I don't know. Like,
ecologist.
No, so does it like reset each night for the animal?
Yeah, does it reset each night for the animal, or does it have its own sort of like life continuity of memories? Yeah, in a show that could have been interesting to explore.
Yeah. Honestly, this would be so much better as a miniseries.
Again, so many concepts.
Yeah.
They could have explored more.
In the unlikely event that a producer is listening to this, remake Ladyhawke as a miniseries.
Think about it.
There's a rich vein to be tapped here.
Yeah. It is an interesting and different kind of magic that we haven't really
explored a whole lot.
Yeah. So, and also I would argue semi-Game of Thronesy in the sense that, like, magic exists, but it's rare.
And also there's a lot of political intrigue and scheming.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So if you want to do Game of Thrones, but right, like, in a shorter format, check out Ladyhawke. But also, that morning after they saved Navarre, there's this really cool scene where Isabeau is laying next to the wolf and waiting for dawn. And she's petting him, and as she's petting him, she sees like the first bit of pre-dawn light sort of like dusting her knuckles, and she knows the time has almost come, but they're so close. They're actually laying next to each other, and there's this fading of Navarre from the wolf form into the human form. It's kind of more of an instantaneous sort of thing. It's not quite, it's like a fade. It's not like a Animorphs or a werewolf thing where
there's no middle morph horrors here.
Yeah, there's no transitional phase. It's like one moment he's a wolf and the next he's a human. He still has like wolf eyes for a few seconds more, but she sees him. He's in his human form, and he turns to look at her, and their eyes meet, and they start to reach out for each other, but that's just when the sun is high enough for her to turn into a bird and fly away.
Yep.
And it is actually really, I like, again,
it's very effective. Again, it's an A+ scene in a B- movie.
Yes.
It's clear in that scene, like, from the reactions of Imperius and Philippe watching, like, it's clear that their torment is
great.
Yeah. And everyone who sees them sees that they long to be together.
Yeah,
and
it's
that they should be
heartbreaking.
together.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And
it's a little cheesy. But
it's cheesy.
It's a little cheesy, but it's also effective, and I do appreciate it.
It's one of those things. So what I would say is, like, once you get past the 80s cheesiness of it,
the 80s music video-ness of it all.
Yeah.
And
you get into, like, what this
the story that
edit
it's telling.
out the synthwave.
Yeah.
That is present.
Because there are rising synths during this.
Imagine it's like a violin or something.
A more stirring background
music.
Or
or cellos. I don't know, something a little more orchestral.
The penny whistle solo from Titanic.
Some Celine Dion.
Then you kind of get it. Then it all kind of clicks together. But again, this fucking soundtrack is so distracting. They get into the city that night with Navarre in the back of Imperius's cart, and Imperius bluffs his way past the guards by basically being like, oh yes, my parish or whatever sends this wolf to the bishop as a gift, because the bishop would like the pleasure of killing this wolf himself. And so the guard waves them in, and then they sort of prepare. Philippe has not gone in with them. He's gone back through the sewer to get to the bishop's church. You know, because I guess, like,
he's infiltrating into
the cathedral or whatever.
Into the cathedral, because also on the day of the eclipse, like, this movie makes sure that everything collides on the exact same day. So also on the day of the eclipse, the reason that they know where the bishop is going to be is because it's the annual hearing of the confessions of the clergy.
Yeah.
So all of the priests from all of the parishes that answer to Aquila are coming to this cathedral, and the bishop is going to be in the cathedral at the altar hearing the confessions.
Yes.
Oh, I missed that part.
Yeah, that's how they knew where he was going to be and when he was going to be there.
So the mouse, like, is to sneak in and basically make sure that they can get into...
Make sure the doors are unlocked.
The cathedral. And Navarre still isn't completely bought into this whole thing, but...
He just he wants his vengeance.
Yes,
but he's willing to give this a chance. He's like, I'm going into that cathedral, and I'll do it at the time that you say, but if nothing happens, and this is the shitty part, I don't like that Navarre did this. He's like, if these, if the bells start to ring a warning, then you know that I have failed. And
you must kill Isabeau.
She wouldn't want to live like this half-life. Blah, blah, blah. And I was like, bitch, you don't get to make those decisions for her.
Yeah, like, why are you making that decision for her?
God. Yeah, that's the part where I was like, maybe she doesn't mind the half-life.
Yeah.
Like, maybe if they had previously agreed...
As opposed to no life.
Yeah, maybe if they had previously agreed, like, if one of us dies, the other does not want to live.
Yeah, which should have been stated, though.
It should have been stated explicitly.
Because the way it's presented is that Navarre makes that decision for both of them.
Yeah.
And that's pretty icky.
Although, so... let's just think about what if that had happened for a second. What a crazy, cautionary fairy or folktale this would have become in centuries of, and then some say that there's, by day there's a hawk and by night there's this lone woman who wanders the, countryside mourning for her lover or something. I'm like, oh, damn. But anyway, that's not what happened.
You get some La Llorona shit going on.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But the priest is like, I can't do that. Navarre's like, you must. And he's like, okay. So he goes off to fight the bishop, and Philippe just manages to unlock the cathedral doors for him to,
ride in.
Yeah, ride in on his horse. You desecrate the house of God!
Yeah, as a callback to a previous episode.
Yeah, to A Knight's Tale.
The current captain of the guard is in hot pursuit, also on horseback.
And it's interesting here because, Navarre is in black, and the bad guy is on this, really pretty white dappled Andalusian, I think.
Navarre is in black and red, and the captain of the guard is in white and gold. So the good and evil color schemes are flip-flopped here.
Yes. So before Navarre can kill the bishop, he has to fight this guy. And oh my god, they were really in some kind of cathedral or something, riding these horses around. And there's some crazy stunt work.
By the horses.
Yeah, honestly, the horses carry this scene.
They're running across these slippery floors and up these steps. And then there's one point where the white Andalusian
falls down
and almost rolls on top of the stunt person. It slips. And I'm like, was that on purpose, or was that that just happened and they decided to keep that take because it enhanced the drama? I don't know.
Who can say?
But it's very clearly a horse fall that you don't see a lot actually in movies.
Yeah, yeah.
So it was noticeable when you're watching it. You're like,
oh
damn.
God.
Yeah.
So while Navarre is doing that, Philippe runs back to the wagon, and he has hidden the sword under the wagon, Navarre's family sword, and he runs back to the cathedral to give it to him. And finally at some point, one of the knights tosses their helm, and it breaks this stained glass window, and that's when they start to see the eclipse. And he's like, oh my god.
This is where Navarre is like, I have made a horrible mistake.
Yeah.
Because if they ring the bells.
Yeah, so then he's like, but one of the people during this fight, they actually do ring the bells. And so he's like, no.
Well, that's why, when he sees the eclipse starting to happen, he's trying to stop them from ringing the bells while fighting. Because he knows once the bells are rung, he told the priest to kill Isabeau. Yeah. Again, in a very dramatic, very rushed Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah, unnecessarily dramatic. It's dude, you could have
it's just waited
a minute.
Wait a day. They wanted to try to break the curse this day, and if it didn't happen,
well, they still had to confront. They still had to confront the bishop. The only way that the spell can be broken is for the bishop to see them together and acknowledge them.
Check the curse thing, and if that doesn't work out, then stab the bishop.
Yeah, just wait. Just an hour.
Yeah, the eclipse is going to be over in an hour. It's fine.
But yeah, they could have walked into the cathedral together and then just been like, you. Yeah. But no, that wasn't. Etienne could not wait. So
because he's a dramatic bitch.
He is a dramatic bitch.
And he's not the brightest, really.
He's very brave.
He has a lot of grit and a lot of strength.
So the bells are rung, and he's just like, no, because he thinks that the priest will kill Isabeau.
And
but then,
surprise, he definitely did not do that.
Yeah, but then, thinking that she is dead, he gets up, so there's a little bit more fighting.
He does defeat the captain of the guard, because there's that weird, like, it's kind of an interesting combat maneuver, but it's made kind of cheesy by the weird 80s slow-mo, where he, like, rolls over his sword. Yeah. And then it rolls back and basically
shoves it into.
It's a really cool action move, but they slow
made weird
it down
by the editing.
Yeah.
But he rolls back and basically uses it like a bicycle kickstand into the captain of the guard's sternum.
Yeah.
And what else made the whole scene very weird was the fact that nobody else in this church reacted.
Nobody is reacting
at all.
There's fully 100 priest extras in the background. And they just spend this entire sequence just milling about.
They have wooden expressions, except this one guy. There's one guy at some point in the background that after...
This one extra.
Yeah, this one really extra, who after Captain Marquet is killed...
He decides to go for it.
Yeah, he's distraught.
Like wailing and gnashing his
to the point
teeth.
where you're like, were you to a thing?
To the point where he is the only extra reacting in the background. That's why it's noticeable, because no one else has any reaction at all.
Yeah, it stands out is what it does. It's like, were you two brothers? Were you roommates?
Were they roommates?
Cousin.
So he's about to go for the
bishop. There's a lot of like mook guards that are sort of slowing his advance towards the bishop.
Yeah, and again, nobody's reacting to anything.
No, I think they're all just enjoying not having to be in this long ass mass. So they're just like, let's just watch this show go on.
I also think that nobody likes this bishop. Yeah. Like, literally nobody. So they're just like, I didn't see nothing.
They've heavily telegraphed that throughout the film.
Yeah.
So it's a little weird, but it's not jarring I feel like that nobody's
they would still
reacting.
Be like, flinching or like, if,
I know, if you're seeing men get killed in front of you.
Yeah, it's still dramatic, even if you don't care if he dies.
Yeah.
But maybe it was the medieval ages and they were used to seeing
Yeah, I mean,
that.
They're also thoroughly traumatized by this point.
I see
just
people
like, this
killed.
is an average Tuesday.
Yeah. So he's about to kill the bishop when he hears a voice behind him saying, Navarre! And it's her. She has returned to her human form, and for the first time in 2 years, they're able to like really see each other and potentially touch each other. But so he's like, oh, this is the moment. And he's like, what did the priest say? That he has to, like basically the bishop has to see them together and like acknowledge them. So he like grabs him really dramatically and he's like, look at me! And the bishop looks at him and he's like, look at her! And he's like much more reluctant to look at her because he's like obsessed with her and he wronged her so deeply.
This point, like, to me, Isabeau entered this church far too slowly. Like, I was like, run!
Yeah, get up there!
Run, bitch, run! Like,
she was kind of like sauntering
she was way too far back in shadow. I was like, you don't know how long this chance will last.
Yeah,
Sprint towards the bishop so that he can see you.
Don't last that long, actually.
Yeah.
Or at least the full eclipse. Yeah. And then he's like, now look at us! He steps back and... Look at us! Yeah. He like yells it twice.
Me and Jess quote this.
We say that all the time.
All the time.
Look at her. Now look at me. Now look at us. So, and he does, and like there's no special effects or anything, but essentially the curse is broken, and at that, Navarre turns to Isabeau, and they run to each other, and they embrace, and she steps away from him for a second and sets her sights on the bishop, and slowly she walks towards him, and she has something in her hands, and when she reaches him, she has the coldest fucking expression. Like, I was like, man,
this is her moment.
Yeah, the emotion she telegraphed here was so good. And she opens her hand, and it's her falconer's hood and the little ties. And she opens her hand in front of the bishop and then drops them to basically be like, I'm done with this. Like, it's over. You lost. And she turns to walk away and go back to Navarre, and that's when the bishop is like, if I can't have her, and he tries to like stab her with his whatever that thingy is.
Bishop's crook?
Yeah.
Which for some reason has an extremely pointy end.
Yeah.
Which I'm pretty sure...
concealed pointy end.
I'm pretty sure that is not standard Catholic equipment.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure God does not approve. But he starts to do that, but then Navarre, demonstrating the skill, he has the skill, he demonstrated it before earlier in the movie, he like turns around and literally throws his sword and like pins the bishop to, I guess, the altar
and
or
like,
whatever.
Javelin throws it. It's not like a sword spin, you know.
It's like a straight shot. And pins him like a bug.
Pins him like a bug. Throwing your sword always works.
Yeah,
don't you know?
Yeah, duh. And so the bishop takes a long second dying, and the whole time he's staring at Isabeau. But then the curse...
And presumably goes straight to hell because he made a deal with the devil.
See, this is where I would have appreciated some special effects. Like, for the bishop to burst into flames.
That would have been pretty good.
Yeah.
He just kind of dies. And you're like, okay.
Yeah, he just dies. And then, you know, Navarre and Isabeau are embracing and hugging and kissing.
And what's really funny to me is, like, this reminds me a lot of the ending of Dirty Dancing, because he, like, does the dramatic lift and spin in the air.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody still is watching with wooden expressions.
Yeah. The leader of their congregation was just impaled, and they're all just like, look at this happy couple.
They're kind of, like, aimlessly milling about.
They're just, again, nobody's, like, really, like, at the very end, you see a few of them, like, clapping or, like, sort of cheering, but up until that point, they are literally just, like, staring. Like, it's actually a little creepy when you think about it.
What was the direction in this scene?
Why?
Plus, it's like, when you're watching this, you're like, do any of these people have any context for what is happening?
Yeah.
Like,
I would think so, because, well, I don't know, these are the parishioners.
How widely spread was the knowledge of this curse? Or was this just some random murder that they just witnessed?
It's like, otherwise these two lovers are being very dramatic about seeing each other. And they're like, oh my god, we can see each other.
And they're just like, eh?
And as a priest in the congregation, you're just like, oh, okay.
Oh, okay. I don't know who they are, but they killed the guy I fucking hate. And they seem happy.
Yeah. Good for them.
Good for them. Good for them.
Yeah, that's kind of
those
the vibe.
two crazy kids.
Yeah, please get out of our church.
Basically.
With all the dead men in it.
We need a mop.
Yeah. So they embrace.
They're
gonna
last rites.
Yeah, they're gonna be together. Clearly, like they're together now. Never mind that they just killed a fucking bishop. I think nobody's gonna snitch.
Yeah, consequences be damned.
It's implied that there's like no consequences.
Nobody saw anything.
Yeah.
I don't know. He was
died.
Evil, he just impaled.
It was clearly a suicide.
Yeah,
it was an act of God.
Yeah. So
he drove a full ass longsword through his own chest cavity so hard that he pinned himself to a wooden post.
He ran into my knife
off the ground. That's normal.
He ran into my knife 10 times.
Act of God was an underappreciated post by Claire.
Oh, fair.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Act of God. Also, so they call Philippe over and they give him little like kisses on the cheek, and I'm like, again,
bring it in, gang.
If he was a kid, it'd be like, wow, found family.
But it's definitely like cute thruffle.
Yeah, it's definitely like, whoa, okay.
Like, is this like the bottom that you guys share? Like,
yeah. I mean, it's clearly meant to just be like an affectionate.
Cute. Yeah.
Yes, but the vibe is weird because of the age dynamics here.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of wish it wasn't so, because it's one of those things where it's like, you know, adult people can be friends.
Well, yes, but because he was written the way he was, it's just strange.
Yeah, he definitely has a crush on Isabeau, for sure.
Also that.
But he and the priest end up kind of
walking off into the sunset together?
Yeah.
I kind of took it as the priest was like taking him as
under his
I guess
wing.
He can't be an apprentice because I don't see Philippe going into the cloth.
Yeah.
So I think the implication here is that they're going to remain friends, but they're going to kind of go their separate ways.
Yeah.
Because Philippe still plans to continue being a thief.
Yeah, he has no
And the priest is just like, oh, you rapscallion.
The priest gives off cute drunk uncle vibe.
Yeah, he's like,
drunk.
You know, if you ever need a place to crash and lay low for a while,
hide from the authorities.
You can do it in my crumbling
I don't like
castle.
cops.
Yeah, I ain't no snitch.
So, and then Navarre and Isabeau kiss, and he lifts her up to the sun, and it's like, oh,
and they had the time of their lives. And they never felt like this before.
And it's
and I swear,
dramatic
it's the truth.
80s ending.
Yeah.
And I owe it all to you, Philippe.
You're picking up on him putting down.
Yeah. So that's Ladyhawke.
The ending, dramatic synth music.
Yeah, dramatic
freeze frame synth music because it's an 80s movie.
It's the 80s.
Do your drum solo again, Jamie.
Yeah.
My one parting thought before we get into dessert. It's in the opening credits. It's in the posters for the movie. For some reason, Matthew Broderick had top billing.
Yeah.
In this film.
Not Rutger Hauer, not Michelle Pfeiffer.
Not Rutger Hauer, not Michelle Pfeiffer. Two powerhouses at the time.
Was Rutger Hauer?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he had already had a pretty decent filmography before this. I mean, fact check me on that.
To be fair, they weren't in the movie near as much as Philippe was.
Well, yes, but that actually doesn't matter for, like, billing. It's how big your name is. For instance, in the first Scream movie, Drew Barrymore got top billing, but she died in the first 5 minutes.
Yeah.
But she was young then. She was...
Oh, but she was a child star. She'd been a star for a long time, and from a dynasty. The Barrymores are a Hollywood dynasty.
Oh, yeah, since the 30s.
Yeah.
Okay.
But Drew Barrymore had top billing in that film, even though she was only...
I don't know my history about Drew.
Even though she was only in it for 5 minutes. So it's really more about star power.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering why they decided to go in so hard for...
Matthew Broderick.
Because, like... He does fine, but his performance is a little wooden in comparison to Rutger Hauer and Michelle Pfeiffer, who really bring it. And honestly, the actor who played Imperius, who played the Bishop, Alfred Molina, they all brought it. Yeah. I'm not sure why they made that choice.
That's interesting.
I feel like it might have been a studio decision to, maybe this is our new hot star.
Yeah, to highlight him. Yeah.
But he ended up being more of a character actor type.
Also, I'm just thinking about the, like, costumes that he wears. They're, like...
just hotel terry cloth robes that have been stolen.
They don't look like medieval agers. It looks like a 90s parka.
Yeah, they use, 80s. Like, earth tones to, like, hide the fact that these are not, like, very period-appropriate clothing.
It kind of looks like the sort of cozy sweater that you'd expect to see on a mid-90s stoner.
Yeah, kind of like that, but terry cloth.
Yeah.
But, I mean, but,
like, there's some decent period clothing.
Yeah, like, Navarre's whole look was
except his
great.
Helmet, which looks like a hockey helmet.
Yeah, his helmet sucked, but the rest of it was great. Like, the Gambison. What about
the horse costume?
Oh, the tack? How was the tack?
I mean, I don't know, like, kind of appropriate. I don't know a lot about, like, medieval tack, but it looks fanciful. Mm-hmm. So, like a fairy tale. But, yeah, and a lot of the things that the clergy were wearing at the end, I don't know why they made some choices.
Michelle Pfeiffer shows up in at the end is definitely not...
Yeah.
It's
a period.
Nothing she wears.
Dress.
Yeah, nothing she wears is period. And that's not done...
It's all 80s, not 1380s.
And it's not like what's done in A Knight's Tale, where that's done on purpose.
Well, the anachronism's the point in A Knight's Tale.
Yeah, this is just... They just didn't do it.
Yeah, they didn't do...
She still looks good.
Yeah.
It's Michelle Pfeiffer. She looks great.
Yeah.
But it's a weird choice.
It is. They also made some sort of weird, I don't know, like, pacing choices and cinematography choices. So there was, I think they were trying to do this interesting thing where every once in a while they would sort of intersperse these cuts of peasants, medieval peasants, like working in the fields or doing, like, peasant things. It almost is kind of like a Book of Days type.
Set the, like, tone.
Scenes.
Yeah.
Which is interesting, but doesn't really serve the pacing.
It didn't serve the pacing. I think they could have done the shots better and for a little bit longer if they wanted to kind of bring that artistry in.
Yeah.
But they didn't have time to do that. And
again, miniseries.
Again, a miniseries would help solve that. And also, there's just this feeling that anybody outside of, like, the core cast is just... They're all a decoration, and they're kind of static in the background.
And, like, statues.
Yeah, there's, like, 6 to 8 named characters that get lines of import and personalities.
Yeah.
And everybody else is a prop.
It's literally they are not doing things in the background, or they're, like, acting like NPCs in a game. And it's very... that could have been done way better.
It comes across that way.
It's like they wanted to create something that felt, at least in the landscape and as far as setting, that felt truly medieval. They did not accomplish it with the costumes, but it seemed like they were trying to go for or that there, or the music. But they were like, this one thing, the cinematography, the setting, we can do it. But they just didn't do it. There was just this weird. Yeah, they made some odd choices, and it wasn't enough.
Well, yeah, and you know my feelings about giving background characters personality and things like that. But like, it's that, and it's a bunch of other choices that make this movie feel kind of flat.
Yeah,
I also wonder, like, if we were to rewatch it and count how many times we hear the same falcon screech.
Oh yeah,
because it's a lot.
The canned sound effects.
Yeah,
which is weird because they had a live falcon on set. You think they could have.
But and there were times where because they were using the falcon, like when it's bundled up with on the horse.
It was fussing at them.
Yeah, it was fussing. So
they had the opportunity to get actual falcon sounds.
Yeah. So those are kind of like the beef I have with this, like the things that they were trying to do and kind of. But I don't know why they made the choices that they made.
Yes.
So yeah, is there anything else to add before we launch into the dessert round?
I would have wanted more. Honestly, like, I know, Jessica, you like the instantaneous transformation.
Yes, yeah.
I would have. I don't know. I want to see the transformation. I wanted more of the Wolfman.
Yeah.
Because they focused on the hawk part a lot. They didn't focus on Navarre being a wolf as much.
That's true.
Yeah, they didn't.
So I would have liked to see, like, his anguish and torment over that.
Yeah.
Or, like,
more angsty wolf man.
Yeah, or was he like, did I kill a deer last night or something? It's like, we got to eat food. Or
some recognition of his time spent
or just
somewhere else.
Even more time spent on both of them being animals. Like, that would have been cool to see them being animals. You know?
It was mostly an inconvenience and not really like a feature of the plot.
Yeah, even though there was a lot of opportunity there. Mm-hmm. I don't know, I just wish that they had done more with the wolf thing, which is what I will...
Yeah, they have such... Again, cool concepts, but they don't spend a lot of time developing them.
Yeah, there's not a lot of follow-through.
So,
they had too much with too little time and too small a budget.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was very
So
ambitious.
that's why, like, if they redid it now, whether they made the transformations instantaneous or, like, more gradual, I think it would have been cool to see that.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
We will probably do a half-baked about this movie at some point, but you know what this kind of reminds me of?
The Prophecy?
No.
Oh.
In terms of, like, having a really ambitious, fully fleshed out background world that just can't fit into the screen time. Jupiter Ascending.
Oh,
and there's a Wolfman in that one, too!
Barely.
That's that.
But we can talk about that.
Never enough Wolfman. Like, come on, people, get it right.
This movie kind of reminds me of Jupiter Ascending.
Well, I don't know about that because the world they developed is our own. It's just the medieval world.
They did have their own rich lore that was associated with it, though.
Not really. It's just the devil.
Okay, well, I liked the thoughtfulness of the magic that they put into it.
Yeah.
And honestly, like, they were just trying to pack too much world into too little time.
Well, what I actually really like about the concept of this magic is that
it's subtle.
It's subtle. It's drawing on Christian sort of mysticism, but also,
which isn't a common thing in film.
No, it doesn't happen a lot. But I'd also like to point out that up until, like, the 16th century, Christianity and folk magic were...
they were tight.
They coexisted.
Yes.
There wasn't this idea
and
that...
in certain quarters it stayed that way.
Yeah. It wasn't until the 16th century that there was really this strong push by certain parts of European society to link folk magic and magical practices with the devil, and to, like, fully push that onto the fringes and basically say, like, these two things cannot coexist, and in fact they are diametrically opposed. But before that, which this feels like it's taking place before that point, these things, one bled into the other, or even if not that, they
existed
coexisted, side by side. Yeah,
they were not seen to be in conflict.
They were just two
Unless
different...
you were literally making a deal with the devil like the bishop did.
Yeah. Unless you were making a deal with the devil, like, most magic was seen as being just, like, a different side of the coin. Mm-hmm. So, because Christianity actually really struggled to trample out a lot of, like, folk magic. A lot of it traces its origins back to, like, earlier cultures, that pre-Christian cultures.
I think we're getting a little off topic
here. Yeah. We are. I just think this is part of what influences me. So,
yeah. Well, maybe we should move into dessert.
We should go into the dessert round. So what really enchanted me about this movie as a kid, what I saw in it was the magic. Mm-hmm. This really simple but elegant and interesting sort of fairy tale magic. Because it is really simple. It is one person turns into one thing during the day and another at night. And so easily and so, again, elegantly kind of capturing the how cool that is, but also like the anguish of it, the tragedy of keeping these two people apart while they're always together. Mm-hmm. And sort of playing off of sort of traits that they had as humans becoming maybe animalistic traits that they were associated with as humans becoming manifest. And that always really captivated me. And again, like, associating it specifically with, like, not any pagan sort of folk magic did this. It was the devil. I'm like, that I don't know. I really liked that.
I thought it was interesting that they had it be the devil's work, because honestly, I felt like it was kind of like you could view it as a curse from their viewpoint, but I was like, it's kind of like a cool, beautiful transformation. And I was like, are you sure this is the devil?
Yeah.
Because you would think it would be like grotesque or something if, coming from.
I guess it's more about like the spiritual torment of it.
Yeah.
Or just like the emotional torment of it, without it having to be grotesque. But also, like, I think as a kid too, I was like, it'd be fucking cool to turn into an animal for one half of the day.
Don't lie. You think that's cool now.
I think that's cool now. It would suck for it to be like a curse, but like a curse that kept you away from the person you loved. But under other circumstances, this could be fucking cool.
I think it'd be cool, but also we have to keep in mind they don't retain their human faculties. So
I mean, werewolves are like that. Like a lot of werewolves.
Really, yeah, but some of the cool werewolf legends, they do.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
But like, if you were to completely turn into an animal with no memory or any of your consciousness while you're an animal,
that takes some of the fun out of it.
Yeah, is it like, are you even really, like, it's pretty much this...
Are you even you?
Yeah. Would you even remember anything you did as an animal? Because then it's kind of a moot point being turned into one.
Yeah. But I've always been fascinated with concepts of duality. That's always been something that's very captivating to me, that I've been fascinated with, is duality. And you have duality happening on multiple levels here, but then you also add the mouse into this sort of like triangle of human animal motif transformation stuff. And while he doesn't like physically transform, there's still something very interesting about him being tied to an animal concept. And
he definitely makes his way through like mouse holes a lot, to escape and stuff.
And he's, he is clever and resourceful, like a mouse or a rat or something like that. And again, like so many things when I was younger, I wasn't like consciously putting all this together, but these are all themes that I've always really like resonated with and really enjoyed. I would have loved to have seen all of those things, like the magical underpinnings and the lore behind that, and Philippe and the mouse, and the interesting ways that interfaces with Ladyhawke and Navarre as a wolf. I would have liked to have seen that actually explored more or expounded upon or something. That is what I wish from this. But therein lies the creativity of being like a creative person, is like you imagine and you extrapolate and all that stuff, which I think I did a bit as a kid. But that's what really creatively impacted me. Those ideas, those elements, the magic, the duality, is there the triplicate? Like a triality?
Trinity.
Oh, fuck. Yeah. The Trinity. The Trinity.
We're talking about Catholics.
But not the Holy Trinity.
Yeah. The animal motif Trinity, how those reflect aspects of themselves. That was really cool. So, and I still find that an intriguing concept today. And, I don't know, you might even say Michel Bisclavret, he, in some of the work that I've done...
Season 2, Harrowing of Minerva Damson.
Yes.
Check it out.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. He is largely based on the legend and the lay of Bisclavret, but also when I chose when making him transform that it's usually a pretty smooth transition. And it's kind of like Navarre's, where it's very...
I can see some of the inspiration now as someone who has listened to and read your stories before seeing this movie. And then after seeing this movie, I can draw some similarities.
Yeah. Oh, cool. That's cool. All right. Who wants to go next?
All right. So I guess it's my turn. And to be fair, I had to think about this one for a minute, because this movie doesn't really interface a lot with my creative sensibilities. Yeah. But I think one big takeaway is one of my biggest complaints, interestingly. Mm-hmm. And that's Matthew Broderick's character. Mm-hmm. So... I don't necessarily enjoy the way that they executed in this film. However, there were moments, mostly in his interactions with Michelle Pfeiffer, where I saw some potential. And that's I really enjoy taking these sort of like very well understood story structures and considering what would it be like to tell this tale from a side character's point of view.
Yeah.
And this movie does take that form, but it doesn't
really...
It does,
but it feels kind of the execution.
It's a little stilted in the execution of that. I'm very into story structure, obviously, plot guy. And there have been properties where it's been like, you have this very archetypal story that would usually have the main characters front and center, but then you look slightly to the left, and you focus your attention over here to the little guy. And I do find that very interesting, and that's something that I like to explore in my own work. And I could probably learn by example what not to do.
Yeah, I think that's one of the interesting things about some of these movies, where they almost get it right, or maybe it's super wrong, but you learn by contrast. It's inspirational by contrast.
Yeah, you can kind of take away, like, okay, where did they fall down and where could I avoid the pitfalls?
Yes. It was so close. It was almost there. So
I think that's really cool that you pointed that out, Jamie, with it being from the point of view of the side character. And I think if they do redo this, they shouldn't make it so obvious in the beginning what's happening with Navarre and the woman. Like, it should be more of a gradual...
Like solving a mystery.
Yeah. Because, like, pretty much as the audience, within the first night, you're like, oh, the man's gone, there's a wolf. Oh, the hawk's gone, there's a woman. You're like, two and two together.
Got it.
But, like, if they played with the premise a bit more, I think it could really be cool.
Yeah, again, like, I do like this movie, but in so many ways, they made decisions that made it feel very flat.
Yeah.
It's lacking in dimension. And that's something that I struggle with.
It could have been so much richer.
Yeah, and a lot of that richness is in not investing very much at all in its side characters or its background characters. There isn't really much character development to speak of. Like, Navarre and Isabeau don't really change except physically over the course of the film. You could argue that Philippe learns... Well... Does Philippe learn any lessons?
I don't know.
Because he's a pickpocketing, lockpicking rapscallion at the beginning, and those skills do nothing but serve him in the late plot.
What I would say, how he's changed, is he actually has made a meaningful connection with other people, and he has found something he cares about other than himself. He cared enough to help them get back into Aquila, which was the last thing he wanted to do.
Sure.
Navarre developed in that you could see him struggling with, like, he wanted vengeance, and he had become nihilistic. But by the end, he does change, and he does see hope, and he's willing to fight for that future. Like, it's a very late stage development.
It's very compelling when you say it.
Okay, so yeah, I think that's a fair point.
It is like, not very compelling in the movie.
It's like I'm like reading into this things that make sense.
Well, yeah.
That I would have liked to have seen.
It's taking on more dimension in your elaboration of it.
Yeah.
That is not necessarily there in the text.
I see the, like, driving narrative, like, what should have been there.
Yeah.
But let us not give points for the gaps we fill in on our own.
Yeah.
Because Navarre still ended up killing the guy.
I mean, that's fair.
That was, yeah.
Sometimes a revenge plot should end in you killing the bastard.
Yeah, like, that guy needed to die.
Yeah.
However, did he learn much? He started off as essentially a roving mercenary. He ended in basically the same space.
I hope he learns next time not to be too hasty with his love murder plots. You know?
Hopefully.
I was assuming that he would become the captain of the guard again. It is going from dishonor back to honor.
That's great and all, but you're filling in gaps that the movie doesn't.
I know. Yeah. And Isabeau is, like, reconnecting with people and her humanity, and
see, I feel like she probably has the most character work.
Again, because it's a freeze frame 80s ending, so we don't get much resolution.
Yeah, that's the thing. But, like, I would agree that Isabeau does experience some change over the course of the movie, where it's like, you know, she's warming to Philippe and, like, sort of developing this friendly repartee.
You know, I think another thing you could say about this movie is that here's another way that it's a lot like a fairy tale. So fairy tales do take a character from one place to another, and usually their circumstances change in that transition, which is what happens here. But a lot of fairy tales, they don't lavish, like, they are by necessity very efficient and sometimes even flat characters who they have a role and they are playing out that role, like Vasilissa the Brave.
No, I appreciate all of that. Counterpoint, Ever After.
Yes, but what I'm saying is, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, like...
I think this could have been done way better, but I was saying that there are story types, there are story traditions where the characters themselves are not, like, gonna, like, develop the way that we imagine.
I know, you're preaching...
They're an archetype.
Yeah, you're preaching to the choir here, but the way that they did it here was not satisfying.
It wasn't successful, yes. All right, Claire?
Okay. One of my takeaways from this movie was that... Who was the actor who played Navarre?
Rutger Hauer.
Yeah, I need to see more movies with him.
Have you watched Blade Runner?
Yes, that's where I recognize him from.
That's probably one of his best performances.
Okay.
He's also in The 10th Kingdom, but, like, he's older in that.
I have not seen.
Wait, who is he in The 10th Kingdom?
The Huntsman.
Oh, you're right.
I know.
Okay. I need to check those out, because...
So, Rutger Hauer...
He has a very stoic energy about him.
Yeah, he's a great performer. I love him wherever I see him. He has the weirdest career, because he'll do, like, these very high-concept art pieces, like Blade Runner, and then he'll also do, like, whatever 10th Kingdom and Ladyhawke count as.
Well, I think those are art pieces, too, right?
No, they're art pieces, but it's, like, it's different kinds of art.
Well, but Blade Runner itself, it was kind of like, it was a wild one at the time that it came out. So he's kind of more into the fringe areas.
The story for him then.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like he's into it for, like, this seems like an interesting character.
Yeah.
He's in it for the craft.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I thought he intrigued me, so I was like, I want to check out more with him in it.
Yeah.
And then also, just as I mentioned before, I'd like to see more with the animal shifting. Mm-hmm. I think that concept, I liked this movie for that concept. Like, I've always liked, I don't know, as a kid, Eliza Thornberry was my favorite part, too.
Oh, hell yeah.
Talking to animals. So I've always liked the interaction with, like, supernatural and animals and stuff, and I think more movies should explore that.
Did any concepts, like, sort of intrigue you and inspire, like, make you think about something creatively in a way you hadn't thought about before? Or perhaps elaborated on something you've already been thinking about?
or planted a seed for the future.
Yeah. No.
I don't know. I saw it a week ago. And
beef there.
Sometimes it takes time to kind of process.
Yeah. Makes me want to check out, I guess, more fairy tales converted into storytelling through, like...
Transformed into a modern narrative.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have some suggestions.
There is a rich vein to mine there.
Yes, there is. There's a lot, like, the mythology part is very, like, especially Greek mythology is very in vogue right now, but there's also a few others that are genuinely, like, much more fairy tales that we'd be familiar with that have been sort of updated into a more modern way of telling, like Spinning Silver, which I will never not recommend.
Yeah, the book,
American Gods.
Yeah, American Gods.
It's a very divisive book. I haven't watched the series yet. It's been on my to-be watch since it came
they've
out.
made it into a series?
Yes, they did. But the book is one of my very favorites of all time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, well, maybe I will check out more of those. Because I did, even though, as I said, the movie is not good, I enjoyed it.
There's a difference between a good movie and a fun movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's important to bear that in mind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You can have a great time while recognizing that it wasn't necessarily a quality great time.
But there's something you like about it.
Yeah, there's a difference between a night at the opera and a night at the state carnival.
Yeah.
You can have fun at both places, but it's different kinds of fun.
Yeah. Well, and so anyway, in I guess in closing, I think this is one of those movies that it's not high art. I don't even know what exactly it was really successful at. And yet, it did make me think. I did keep coming back to it, and I do remember it.
It's an experience when you see it.
Yeah, and it's not like a total train wreck.
No.
It's really interesting like that, too.
It's kind of middling, I would say. It averages out to middling.
Yeah, yeah. So, well, I think that might just be Ladyhawke.
Ka-cha!
Oh, wait. I had one bit I wanted to do. If you got cursed, what animal would you turn into?
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's a good...
What
Honestly, I'd probably say a wolf and be basic.
Yeah. I mean, because wolves are fucking cool.
Yeah.
I don't know. Can I even answer this myself? I feel like I'd be... Maybe... So, this is also kind of a basic animal, which is... I don't know. But a cat... Because I do have kind of a cat-like personality, and habits, but also when I was a child, I liked to pretend that I was a cat, and I would like imagine myself with kitty ears and like doing the like different like ear positions for my mood at the time.
You were born too early. That you couldn't have your own warrior cat like OC.
There are...
Me and my sister had Lion King OCs, though.
They make animatronic...
You were ahead of the curve, Jessica. Yeah. That is very popular.
They make animatronic headbands that do that. With little robot cat ears on.
You know, kids also, in the last few years, they've had, like, they can wear, like, the kitty cat hat bands, and I'm like, oh, I would have died for that as a kid.
I mean, you can still do it. No one's
I can.
You.
Nobody is stopping me, but I would want the...
full Josie and the Pussycats.
Yeah, I would want the animatronic ones, though. Like, for the satisfaction of the, like, the movement. But yeah, maybe a cat for me.
Magpie.
Yeah.
I like shiny things. I'm a mischievous little shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was gonna say, like, honestly, I would probably choose one of the two animals in this movie. Because if not a wolf, then it would be so cool to fly.
Yeah,
that's fair.
Maybe a peregrine falcon, because they can reach speeds of over 200 miles
per hour. Falcon punch!
I literally saw like a falcon
they
earlier
were in the pines
tree.
Outside the house, yeah.
Mm-hmm. It was super cool. But then, being a cat, doing a lot of cool kitty things, which is its own kind of mischief and freedom.
Well, you two go together.
Yeah. The magpie encouraging the cats to fight.
Oh, that's such a good video.
Anyway, all right. Well, that's Ladyhawke. I think it's time to clear the table, put the dishes in the sink to be done in the morning. Feed the stale bread trenchers to the dogs. and bring this to a close. So, thank you so much for listening. We really appreciate it. We really enjoyed you being here with us. We love having you at our table. If you can think of anybody else who would like to join us at the table, go ahead and send them a link and find us on Instagram at media_morsels to reach out, say hi. We're going to have, be posting some new stuff on there soon.
Imminently.
Some interesting content, lore, even.
Oh my gosh.
And Claire knows.
I know what you're referencing.
Claire knows what's coming. Mitch also
shaking my head.
So all of you know out there. And we hope to see you again next week. We'll save you a seat.